Hello YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and welcome back to Outsiders. And now in the spirit of the mailbag programme, I've just received a mail message come straight through actually today, and as I'm taking today out from my normal work and my normal workload, I've got some opportunity to do a few videos, and it's very kind of this person to send a message through, and I thought I'd respond immediately, give a reply. This particular gentleman's name is Bojan Aka Oriorium, and he's got a player in his 3rd edition group. Excuse me, I'm going to grab some tea while I have this video conversation with you all. He's got a player in his group, effectively, who, this is Warhammer 3rd edition, who's been acting pretty odd, being basically pretty difficult, and I don't want to really go into the full depth of it, but to try and paint the picture of what's happened. Initially, this player was playing a Troll Slayer. He was obviously becoming, making the DM's life very difficult, and probably by the sounds of it, the players as well. Character was eventually killed off, and then he brought back a ranger character who's wants to become a witch hunter that's ultimately even said he's going to go after the Emperor and any noble that gets in his way, almost threatening the GM really with that. And Bojan Oriorium asks, what should I do? You know, what do I do? I've talked to the player, but he still continues on with this sort of strange psychopathic behaviour. Well, it's actually very straightforward, Bojan, to be honest with you. I hope you don't mind me calling you that. Really, to be honest, if the same thing had happened to me, and occasionally, you know, from time to time in new groups forming, or you know, some of the questions that do come through to the mailbag program, people do ask this question a lot about players, and I always think, you know, I try to look at it logically, fairly, and subjectively. In that, I'm going to assume, because I don't know all the facts, I'm going to assume that the player is a friend. I'm going to assume that, you know, there's a vested interest to keep this player on board in the group. So obviously, the fact of the matter is that naturally you've got to talk to him properly and lay down the rules that you expect in your game. And also, I think it's really important to remember that as GMs, we have a duty of care, if you like, to our players. Obviously, you know, unless you're a complete psychopathic GM and, you know, your whole reason for being is wiping out players, well, you wouldn't probably be around that long, actually, to be honest with you. You've probably got more busted groups than anything else. You know, the truth of it is that what we want is a certain courtesy from our players as GMs. You know, we put a vested interest into them, a lot of interest. We the GMs, we put ourselves out there, you know, to entertain our players, and that comes at a cost. It comes at a cost of certain sacrifices that you make to do that, and I don't think it's a lot to ask to expect a certain level of play from the players. I'm not an advocate. I don't believe for 1 minute that just because a player writes a character a particular way to act like a donut, that they should be allowed freedom of choice to go ahead and play that character as stupid as they want, or to do the most ridiculous things, because it's not just you that they're going to annoy. Actually, it's the other players as well. It might be funny at first, but those laughter quickly turns to an end of a campaign if it's not really handled very well. So I do understand your frustration, and I do understand the reason for your question. So simply what I would do is this. Talk to him, make it clear what your rules are, lay them out clearly what you expect as a level of courtesy from the players. Remember that the players have a duty of care to you as a GM and the fellow players around that table. If he doesn't take the warning or the hint, I think you need to make it really crystal clear. Look, if you can't actually toe the line here without being dictatorial, because you're not, it's not asking a lot to expect players to turn up and put some effort in, I'd get rid of him. I'm sorry, it just wouldn't last in my games. And to be honest with you, a character like that wouldn't survive anyway. You can't make threats to the GM about, you know, I'm going to kill the Emperor, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I mean, you know, maybe you want to, you know, but, you know, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. You know, I like anybody. I like characters that are well thought through. I like players that have put some effort into thinking about backstories for their characters, that have put some effort into the reasons why their character has a fear of something or has a particular phobia or something, so that when it comes up in a game situation, it's realistic, it's fair, they've talked about it openly. It's not just on the whim. On this occasion, they've decided they're going to run just because they want to run, and on another occasion, they stand there and fight, or on whatever reason it gives them to dick you about, which isn't right, and it's not fair. So you need to make it crystal clear to this guy, to quickly recap here, he has to, there is a level of courtesy that every player should give to the DM and the players around that table, and that effectively is simply this. If you want me to quickly sort of touch on it and really illustrate it, is this. If the actions you do could have consequences that could either A, get other players into trouble or wipe them out, or potentially alter the entire game frame, could change everything. If you do a willing action that could have huge repercussions, a willing action, and not for the good of the game, and not if it's a group doing it, that's a different thing. But if an individual cannot take responsibility that his actions could have serious repercussions for him and the rest of the group, then that is out of order in my book. I'm sorry, it's just not acceptable, and I would not accept a player around the table to do that. And that's not me being difficult, it's just from years of play and the feedback that many players give if a player tries to do such a thing. So, not a lot to ask. It does sort of let me know, though, that probably in your case, I'm quite surprised that some of the players haven't stepped in, but that might be because they're all in the same boat, fairly inexperienced players. That's sort of maybe what I'm gleaming between the lines with the email you sent. So normally a good player will step in and tell that player, hang on, you're out of order, without you needing to do much, actually. So, that's probably what you're struggling with at the moment, that you've got to set the tone for it. So always when I set a campaign up as well, just to give a few pointers, I make it clear at the beginning of the campaign house rules and level of conduct that you expect. I don't need to do it with experienced groups, but you certainly need to do it with new groups forming, and particularly when you have a problem. So I hope, Bojan or Orivorium, that answers your question. Thank you for it. Really appreciate it. And if anybody else has any more, you know where to send them. That's sean.connors68@me.com. I've been Outsiders. Take care of yourselves and happy gaming. Bye bye.